Hi, good afternoon, everybody. This is Joanna from the Early Morning Ascension Show. Hi. We have some really great wisdoms and information. So excited. We're going to talk about some new things today, as well as a little bit of a continuation on what we talked about. They're going to be constantly evolving conversations about the human experience that we're having here, becoming divine beings of light. How we're harmonizing all that we are into all of the soul fragments and honoring those soul fragments, honoring the light and the dark and the shadows, and understanding how to operate, navigate through the shadow energies, how to do it in a safe and benevolent way, so that when we are moving through those deep and dark experiences, we know how to use that with creative genius so that it's serving the greater soul purpose. When you're moving through any specific moment, you're offering all soul aspects of you, those opportunities to that light. When you're doing it in a benevolent way. So whether you're having those dark nights of the soul and you're releasing those deeper energies and emotions or suppressed experiences, you're doing it in a way and you have a process set out for yourself so that it's nourishing your soul and it's allowing you to release those deep, dark energies and moving that energy about in a beautiful way. And then using that within what is your creative tools, what are your creative gifts, so that you're absolutely sending it to the rest of your soul fragments and you're offering that light to your soul fragments, to your soul pod, if you will. I was shown a while ago, we just started teaching it about the multifaceted soul. And when you become in connection with your higher self, you then become aware of the soul pods that you belong with and that are belonging with you, if you will, vibrationally, and why you're meant to create and offer certain creative aspects. Every person comes with obviously a higher self, and the higher self is connected with the oversoul. The oversoul is then connected with oversouls of oversouls of oversouls. They are sacred geometry that goes up into the hierarchies of the heavens of all that you are as source, the God connection, if you will. That's why you activate God with breath, because breath is the essence of our life, along with many other things. Specifically for the Christ consciousness held within the water bodies of who we are, and that activates our crystalline energy, the Shekinah energy, this Shekinah essence that activates that God essence of alchemic change. Spirit, the Shekinah is what alchemic change is all about. But you have to have that connection, that spirited connection of your Christ consciousness, just as there are the hierarchies above and within us, operating as the higher aspects. You are a higher aspect and a guide creatively, especially if you come with profound creative talents and you're already in the creative industry. You have a soul pod that you're connected with, the entire collective, and your energies and your inspirations offer that to those collectives in need. Why you're born at a certain time that you are, to offer that collective your creative genius, your creative insights, so that you're opening up the potentiation of what your unique expression is. Not that it has to be the one and the all, but you're offering a template. You're offering that creative genius of who you are as a creative crystalline being, or a hybrid, or whatever your unique DNA sequencing is, because everybody's DNA sequencing comes with different experiences, and your DNA changes over time. You have a specific DNA code within the center of every cell, and those cells and those magnificence, if you will, are changing as you change, just as if your relations change as you change. The pods that you belong with and that belong with you are those aspects of how we're harmonizing the multiverse. We're harmonizing the multiverse, the lower vibrational energy, lower vibrational energies. We're pulling in those threads, and as we're pulling in those threads, we go through those experiential experiences. We're breaking up those very complex social energies, and sometimes those do come across the multiverse, which I experienced. It's very transcendental to think about. But what that also does is those universes that are operating in a higher frequency, they offer us those higher vibrational threads. So right now in our collective, this is our universe, there's a lower operating universe and there's a higher operating universe. We're receiving the higher vibrational codes of the multiverse, harmonizing as a one universe, and the lower as well. And as through time, if you will, there is no time and space, but through the process of a multiverse event ascension, these will become one universe, and it will become a profound universe, because it's harmonizing what would never been thought that could have been done before. But that is the offering of the Mother, Father, creators. Every universe has a unique creator universal experience. And as the expansion and contraction of all multiverse, these are part of the expansive roles, if you will. This is only looking at it from a triad experience. There are opportunities within the multiverse where there's always that contraction expansion of the harmonization of all that is. There has to be the contraction expansion so that that growth does occur. That is when it is becoming no different than our creative inspirations. There is that moment of spark, of that inspiration, of the ingathering of information, the observing, the reflection, that incubation period, and then we're bursting it forward as a launch. And those are part and parcel to how we manifest in the creative realm. And so everything is connected. Everything is a micro macro. I'm just getting a tissue. Thank you, Holy Spirit. My third eye opened. Every time my third eye opens, I get a sinus cold. All the densities that are breaking up from the sinus come pouring down, and it clears out the sinus cavities. So just know that that's normal. My third eye is popping, man. It's popping. I'm popping, man. It's popping today, man. It's popping. And so your soul pods are those that you get inspirations from. Your soul pods are those directly that you influence as a creator, as an inspirator, as a lead vibrational anchor for your collective. Why you're meant to thread with certain collectives, and why there is always a grander design plan. You never have to worry about getting or taking or controlling anything. All your focus should be is your creative inspirations as the sacred child. What are your musings? What are your excitements? What are your discoveries? What are your investigations about life? Who are you? What do you exist within? What is within you? As you're focusing on that inner realm, spirit will make sure that all is aligned. You belong to pods and pods belong to you. Pods are just collectives of beings operating in certain levels of consciousness. There might be a certain pod that is of a lower vibrational consciousness because they're just awakening. They're part of your soul families, and your soul families, again, come from the multiverse. Those pods are, it doesn't matter how many people, because we get so caught up in the minutia of numbers and qualitative and quantitative. We don't have to go that far. But every one of these pods has an operational experience to you and for you as your soul's growth, as your soul's theme, living as an enriched soul, so that these pods are constantly feeding and harmonizing energies back and forth. If you're an inspired creator, as someone in the arena of collective service, of collective leadership, of collective healing, of collective inspiration, you're going to have pods of various levels of consciousness. Not to hold judgments for anybody at any level of consciousness, but that you're offering their higher vibrational, just as I was, that consciousness and that pod that do black magic and sacrifice. Those energies of those pods carry very important threads over that multiverse experience of deep, complex energies that we have to break up. There will be those of us that are responsible for certain pods to break those energies up. Those are usually the crystal beings. Crystal beings break codes of whatever human structure, social structure, lineage structure, ancestral structures that affect the earth and how the earth operates within the new grids. The new grids are the systems of energies and codes that we all come with. It's all sacred geometry, and why we have sacred geometry, because it is a part of the connector spirit of source creator. How higher vibrational beings, how the collective of beings, how Gaia operates within that multitude and similitude of symbiosis, and why our connection with our planet is going to be so very important for our phases of continued inspiration, of continued creativity, of continued harmonization of the pods that we belong with and that belong with us. And again, it's multiverse. You might have some species in your pods, we say species because everybody comes with a different coding of DNA, that are disconnected from their heart space. They're only operating from the 1 and 2 chakras. And it's very worried. It's about safety. It's about reflection. It's about no security. All of those are the lower 2 chakra energies. So you can see the patterns that are unfolding in your collective. And then you can operate from your higher self, because you have access to your higher self. That's how we create the inspiration. When you're in the flow, when you're in the groove, that's all the harmonization of the higher self. You have easier access because you've cleared the densities of your chakras. You've cleared that so that that light can flow up and down simultaneously, instantaneously, without blockages about your insecurities, about your safety, about your creativity, about your sexuality, about your I am presence, and everything that goes on within the stories that go in and involving around the harmonization and the expansiveness of your chakras. And there's multitude more of chakras. We're just talking about the basic, kind of 9 that we come with. There's far more than that, obviously. And your pods will help you activate those chakras. There'll be people coming and going in your life. And when you're surrendering to your higher self and source, you'll be led to go to certain places and be connected with certain people. I had this wonderful experience this one time when I was going through this one upgrade. And Spirit had told me, you know, go to a certain place at a certain time. And I did. And I had an incredible Kundalini activation. And it was very, very beautiful. And the person that I had that activation with was really excited to help me with that activation. And so I'm very, very grateful for his participation, because there was nobody that I had been connected with that had that code. And I felt it immediately. As soon as I was within 2 distance of him in the field, there was an immediate activation, and I had that beautiful. We both felt it. It was incredible. And because we come from a similar star system pod, those codes that we come with, DNA connecting us with that activity, and we do that with one another. So when Spirit knows there's a connection or there's an activation that's ready to be done to clear out a certain, or to remember your galactic DNA, or to remember your celestial DNA, or to remember your Gaia ancestral DNA, whatever it is that's needed at that time, Spirit will thread that in and you'll get that connection. Why those that are connected and usually excited to be having a session with me, they're led by their higher selves. They have an innate excitement within their I am presence. There's something in the field that feels exciting, and then they're led to me because we do the celestial, galactic, intergalactic activations, and they come from a multiverse. And so, yeah, those are just ideas and inspirations, and why life unfolds before you. It's getting more and more complex, and it's more and more elegant. And that's why when you understand the inner realm of your complexity, the inner realm of your harmonization, the inner realm of your own art system, you as a creative genius moving and harmonizing with life, you harmonizing with the elegance of God's already set program. You are a program of elegance with Spirit. You are a destination. You are an embodiment of the heavens. That's infinite. As Jesus said, if you do not understand the brilliance and the elegance of earthly systems, how would you ever understand the elegance of the heavenly systems? So again, know that there is divine elegance in all that God is. Know that there's a divine elegance in you as a system and of an operating beingness, and how you're affecting those within your pod when you give compassion and light and honor, and why you have those similar patterns with similar energies. How come you're attracting certain energies? And when you're ready for a release, like for me in this instance, I can release spiritual abuse stories, because that's what those control and using black magic and using manipulation, mind scraping, all of those, they're very complex, intergalactic, interuniversal energies, and they affect the whole collective. And that's why the grids have recently gone through an upgrade, because we've culled those energies out for the collective to think about, for the collective to ponder, for the collective to observe, for the collective to reflect. Where is that control going on in my life? Is my system sovereign with Spirit, so that I'm in direct alignment with my inspirations with Spirit? My higher self aligns me with the highest of the heavens, so that I can come forth and offer my highest creativity, for my highest benevolence, for my highest enjoyment factor, and my pod will also get it, because they're also aspects of you in various versions of dimensional experience. And we all need that inspiration of creativity. We are creative geniuses. We are creative geniuses above all and be all anything, because Spirit is creativity. Spirit is the inspiration. We are creative inspiration. That's the living journey that we are on. We are the living mechanisms of art. We are the geniuses of art across all galaxies and realms. We are multiverse geniuses. And we're going to start playing in a higher creative way. That's all that we can be focusing on right now, is how can we create and play? How is our creative genius affecting the beautiful world and inspiring the oceans, inspiring new life, activating with our grids? When you connect with your higher self, the higher above and below, and you're consciously anchoring that within the grids, you're anchoring that within Gaia, you can't believe the amount of energy and inspiration that you're coming into harmonization with. When you're harmonizing with your highest essence, your fullness essence, your wholeness essence, you absolutely know that it's full and it's rich. And again, you release that outer focus and that outer direction, because your design of you doesn't come from outer. It's merely just an observation. So in every aspect of creative art, there is an observatory experience. You're observing where you are at right now. What is the observational experiences being reflected to you? Let's go into higher self and let's see how I can create something new. That's that crucible. That's that juxtaposition in that moment of the infinity. I'm choosing in this neutral space. I'm going to create new. I'm going to create new. I'm going to create. You're paving and praying and creating those energies of those new 5D templates, because you're no longer in the 3D experience. You've cleared those wounds. So now you're operating and calling in those higher lights, calling up those higher lights, the inspiration that flows down you and activates through your chakras as you're releasing and letting go. And you're creating those new inspirational templates and offerings and experiences and observations and investigations, and you're sharing it with your collective, because your collective is a part of you. Your pod is with you because they're requiring those higher vibrational inspirations. There's crystalline children that get something that's far above what my parents did, because they're on a higher vibrational oscillation. They're on a higher vibrational knowing. They want deeper, higher vibrational wisdoms. If you had somebody like me or a channel or a conduit coming to do a channel session for a university or a high school, they're going to get things. They're going to walk out of it and they're going to be activated. They're going to be codes in their fields. They're going to be activated far more than reading a textbook from A to Z or doing a test on it in the old days of school. So we're going to be changing our fields because our pods are ready for greater information, for higher wisdoms. And so the part about the creative genius and why those energies of black magic and control and mind scraping and all of those energies, and why they're even in the collective, because there's stories and energies that are in the collective about being controlled, the fears about being controlled, the imbalances of the divine feminine, why the divine feminine is written out of the creative story. Divine feminine is the intuitive mind. Divine feminine is the moon energy. It pulls up all of those energies from all levels of experience so that it can be observed, reflective observation. That's what creative art really is. When you're looking at everything without judgment, you're looking at everything as neutrality, and what can you offer to infuse that new light, to infuse that new spark? And it can be done in whatever way that you want. I remember back in the day, there was like, poetry slams where you would just get together and it would be about an expression of where things are at right now, and a lot of frustration, a lot of misunderstandings about society and, working for the man, if you will. Those were all really great experiences of how we were sharing our creative voices from the observation, from the reflection, from our own life experience. And that's how harmony, and we move as creative beings through time, if you will. But now our times are all imploding into one, because now we're entering into a no time, which is the highest creative notion of ourselves in experience, because we know that we don't have to be linear anymore. We are creative geniuses now, and we're connecting with the highest versions of ourselves and harmonizing all aspects. And so part of your inspirations are, again, those ideas of the divine masculine feminine energies, and working through that as you're moving through your awakening and finding out where is that creative gem and jewel of whatever is being released in that moment. If you're going through a dark night of the soul, there will be a genius within that, because again, your life is that tool, your life is that system, your life is that operating experience through which you're offering your greatest gift. Your life is your experience to offer that gift to us and help others, and why it's always going to be an equal match of abundance, because your energy exchange is going to offer you those that want to work with you, because it's an even exchange. Wow, that really helped me. Thank you so much. I can't wait to have an appointment or a session. Or you're being used for creative consulting. So all of those are always just an innately inherent with the divine plan. You don't have to think of the divine plan, that's spirit. You're merely just surrendering into your creative art and just trusting that whatever is before you is meant to be before you. There is a gem within it all. Whether it's a challenging conversation or whether it's trying to sort out a win-win, there will be a gem so that you can use that to help and assist others. Your life that you've gone through is your toy and your story to assist all others in your pod. You will have great impact to those in your pod. So because you're going through difficulty right now, use that. You should be. That is your gift, because you can create that harmony and alchemy and navigate your way through and around it. Where is your excitement comes from that alignment of your chakras. All of your chakras speak to one another. When your chakras are clear, you have greater light flowing up and down your creative system, your operating system. Then you get to choose from your heart space. How do I want to offer this as song? How do I want to offer this as art? How do I want to offer this as prose? How do I want to offer this as a story? That's your creative genius to the world. And that's, my friends, is how you are known to the heavens. You will be known by your light. And that light is the spark of inspiration. Your inspiration is your light. And that's an offering of back and giving and receiving, of giving and receiving. When you're imbalanced, you're giving too much out. And then reclaim your energy, reclaim your light, go back within, and then start nourishing yourself with self-love, self-care, giving you a few days off. And then again, observing, reflecting, sussing out what is before you. And then when you do have those powerful releases and dark nights of the soul, usually because someone in your pod has helped you activate, brought in such great dynamic light, you get triggered, you go within and start, well, maybe I should change that behavior. Do I really need to act that way? Do I really need to act in less? No, okay, well, let's change that. I was activated for a reason. It made me think about how I was acting so jealous, how I was acting so envious, how I was acting as if I didn't have my own creative talents. You're activated by people in your pod because they're meant to break up that density. And some of us do come with greater galactic celestial codes because you need it. Because that the old 3D human codes are being transmuted. Again, we're transmuting higher complex human energy. And because Thank you, Holy Spirit. Thank you, thank you, my friends from the Star Council. Thank you, Holy Spirit, and the Galactic Federations. Thank you, Holy Spirit, because we're being offered new environments and new sharings of codes and galactic, they're saying symmetry, again, sacred geometry for our preparation and shifts for many things that our galactic bodies and fields are waking up into. First contact, again, your symbiosis with the land, because again, we said in our classes, what is in the land, what is in the nature, the flora and the fauna and the waters, all that is God, all that is spirit. There are inspirational stories therein. There's cosmological stories therein where you will be interacting with galactic and celestial energies. Just because it has the face of a nature is not, it's still galactic and celestial. A lot of our flora and fauna are from other planets. So too are the cetaceans. So we're constantly interacting with greater galactic, symbologies and symbiosis, and us connecting with intention, with art, with creativity, with new genius of our fifth dimensional grids. Those that are aligned with fifth dimensional energies, you will see yourself highly shifting your focus, redirecting your focus to creative art. Make no mistake about that. It will be the highest vibrational focus of the next 5 to 10 years from here on out. Make no mistake about that. That's how we heal. That's how we create. That's how we manifest. That's how we heal our inner bodies. That's how we create youthfulness, is through our creative genius, because we're inspiration beings. We're of light. We're infinitely creative. There's no stop to our inspiration. Ideas, 100 a day, minimum. And that's exciting. Nothing to be bored about. Nothing to focus on anybody else outside of you. No, you are a creative genius. Get busy. Let's go, let's go, let's go. And have those times of observation and reflection. And when you're having those deep reflection and release times of whatever is being brought up, because you have been activated by somebody in your pod, you can be activated by anybody. It doesn't matter the level of vibration. Anybody that is before you that is offering you constant drama, constant chaos, constant spell work, constant control energies, constant narcissism, those are just allowing you to reaffirm that you don't need those abusive stories anymore. And is there anything residue in your field that you can release? And when that's so, then you know that you're ready to close all those stories off. And then you're going to be moving through the minutia about others not being okay to close it off. And then you've got to dance with that in navigational presence, so that you're doing it from a very spiritually mature manner and always in alignment with spirit, and spirit will allow those reroutings to be done. There still might be a part of your pod, they might not be. Everybody is being redirected and rerouted right now based on their core vibration and what their lessons have. Their lessons been learned from your pod leader. And they say pod leader from the ones that are holding the highest resonance for those that are in that collective that you're being drawn to just naturally, right? We have pod leaders that are in music. We have pod leaders that are in politics. We have pod leaders that are in every aspect of our socioeconomic series. Many of those that make the beautiful ASMR videos. Steve Noble, he's one of them. Hi, Steve. He makes great ASMR meditation videos. He's a pod leader. He has people that are inspired by his connection and the meditations that he offers. And he's been a light worker for quite some time. And so those pod leaders have access to those pod energies. He's activated by the pod people, and he's activating other pod people in his pod, and so on. And then when he's learned that lesson from that pod, he'll have an activation, just as Daniel Scranton. He has to always be activated. Daniel has to keep working up and up and up for his vibration, because the Arcturians are moving up 10th and 11th dimension. They're moving up from the 9th to the 10th. So all of us as leaders, we have to constantly be activated by higher and higher vibrational beings. Many of the pod leaders that I have, that I'm in high access with, go right up to, again, it's a multiverse, because I'm working with God, Mother, Father. It's a more expansive span from side to side, because Mother, Father, God are always with me on the top and the highest echelons, if you will. And the creator gods that I work with, because I'm a crystal, and all of the various forms and the grids and the places that I work within, grids and spatially, vibrationally, I work from more of a spaced out and up. It's never just a direct up. I can feel that because I'm working within the multiverse. That's just how I'm explaining my particular experience. Not that for everybody. I feel it as an up and out because I see the universe. I feel the multiverse. I'm feeling it with the creator gods. The creator gods sit above me in vibration, and they help lift me along with the pod leaders that I come with. And sometimes they can be called, They have been, I've heard them be called for whatever it is that you need in that time. We'll do a whole other video because it's grander than you think and it's more complex than you think. And that's why we have these overlays, soul overlays, experiential overlays, when we're going through profound transitionary experiences as a collective, because we need those grand soul experiences of those that have said been before us. They're not, they're now. They come to overlay us in energy so that we have those deposits in our field, in our chakras, so we can pull them out and create anew. Everything is for the creative genius that we are. You can have a soul overlay to come in for just a moment. Walk-ins, they're very similar. It's all for the creative process of harmonizing those complex energies, of realizing who you are in it all, of radical acceptance of who you are in all. And all outside of you is radical acceptance. There's no need to judge. We're here to rewrite systems. We're here to rewrite the judicial systems. We're here to rewrite education and have it be more creative and inspirational. Because we're incredibly creative beings, and yet most of what we're being focused on is not creative. Our planet and our richness of our nature is everything about who we are and how we're activated as light beings, the light body. So as often as you can, create with Gaia. There is such profound symbiosis with Gaia. And have the children become interactive with it. When we're working out the balancing of the divine masculine and divine feminine energies, there's a certain amount of, when you're going through that creative process of becoming new, of rewriting who you are as a soul, you're becoming anew and you're harmonizing all that you are as a creative soul in every moment. You're going to have those reflective moments, those observation moments, those integration moments, those processing moments, those release moments. That's the ascension cycle. And then you're allowing yourself to discern those cycles in which you go through a release. So make sure that you're giving yourself that nurturing time and a safe place to release those energies in which you're not doing any harm to anybody, as opposed to be reactive and that fight or flight experience. But all that you're able to create and gain that inspiration from, the wildlife, the flora, the fauna, the oceans, the air, all of those are highly interactive because, again, we're learning cosmological stories. Those aspects of who we are as galactic celestial beings will be held in our flora fauna. And as I come to the beach, and I'm at the beach quite a bit, thank you, Holy Spirit. Again, you have pods because they come with your collective stories. They come with the collective needs. Your pods are the collective needs of what helps inspire you. What is my collective need that I can assist with? Those are my personal stories, and maybe I'll help somebody else in that mirrored story, in that reflective story. So your pods and your soul groups and your soul collective help in many ways. You have higher soul collective, and you'll have the collective on various vibrations. There's no judgment on anybody in between because everything inspires everything. Remember, one inspires the other. But in my reflections, the balancing of the divine masculine and divine feminine energies, watching kids on the beach, and how is it our role to become greater role models of our flora and our fauna and our oceans, and be ambassadors and be really great advocates for our planet. When I'm watching kids on the beach, I'm often very I observe how they act on the beach. And there'll be a handful of kids that will walk up and down the beach, and they'll be oohing and awing and pointing and just being in great honor of what Gaia offers us. And then there'll be the children who, take whatever, drift what they can, and they smash everything along the way. And there's no observing, there's no pondering, there's no reflection, and there's no judgment in that either way. But we are the ambassadors to create peace and presence and stop and stillness and just reflect and study and observe. These are great little pieces that I found. The sand is dropping off, and I just picked these up on the beach. They're gorgeous. You can see the sacred geometry on these. And I was watching kids with their driftwood and just smashing all the beautiful shells and the beautiful sacred geometry. But when you're in those instances, be the advocate and be the gentle purveyor. How about we just look at that? Before you smash it and destroy it, how about we just look at that? What does that offer you? And again, it is in the same reflection as any killing of any animal and the disregard and the sexual abuse of any child. Again, we're returning to the higher values and integrity and connection of all life because we are. There is no thing that we are not connected with. And if you do feel disconnected, then why? Go within and heal that. Because that's how we create those disregards and those flamboyant, dismissing of people. Dismissing of somebody because you took something the wrong way, or because you had a wound and you removed them from your list. And it was a dismissal. of somebody that you had no idea who they are and what their soul was to offer you? Did you learn the lesson of what that soul was offering you? Did you learn the reflection of what that soul offered you before you chose to judge them and dismiss them from your list? Did you choose to reflect on a beautiful piece of sacred geometry and how old this shell is and this star fossil is in the ocean? And you look at this sacred geometry on this beautiful, beautiful shell that was just found in the water, and I picked it up. And then you turn it around and it's a whole other world. You see the sacred geometry. And in the center, and as it's laying flat, see the shape? And the energy comes up from the ocean, the life comes up from the ocean and comes out. And these designs that are just naturally made. How is that a thing? Isn't that amazing? Sacred geometry. Isn't that a beehive? And what if you had a couple of these lined up on each other? Will it be a beehive? How's that a thing? That's how the universes look. Little beehives. Energies coming up and out and down. So, dear lighted ones, I give these to you in beautiful, gentle pondering. Gentle, gentle pondering. Inspire children, inspire yourself to just sit and ponder and reflect. If you are a genius, if you are a creator, you will have as much time in silence and just reflecting upon your feelings and your emotions and allowing those emotions to flow through you to cleanse your vessel of inspiration, to cleanse your vessel of creativity, to cleanse that vessel and make sure that the wholeness of your soul is breathing as a soul. And you're igniting spirit and God through the soul aspects of you, because as you empower and love and honor God in your richness of your creations, God is honoring you in the richness of your creations. God is helping you heal and harmonize those stunted fragments that are left in disrespect of itself and dishonoring of itself. And then you come up with a higher resolve, you become higher intelligence, and you're not just responding and reacting, but you're just sitting in quiet resolve and just allowing things to unfold. And then you will feel the inspiration of how to offer. Again, what is my part in this transaction? I want to be the highest level of offering here, Spirit. What is my part in this transaction? And Spirit might say to you often, just let it unfold. You don't have a part, just to observe. And there might be a part, well, it's time for you to speak up. It's time for you to act, because in every creational process, there is a ingathering. There is that birthing, that seeding experience. And then there's that ingathering of information and nourishment, and you're reflecting and you're observing that incubation period. That's when you're going through that inner minutia of metamorphosis, right? And then there's that bursting free, that birthing. Wow, I feel new today. This is who I am today. I'm going to put out a great piece of art. I'm going to do some writing today. And you become new because you've had that time to give yourself the minutia, and you've had that time to be really full within that metamorphosis. There's a stage and a phase at every aspect of your creation. Songs are no different. When you listen to many of the great artists, and I like listening to interviews of my favorite bands, one of them, my favorite band is Rush. They were starseeds and far beyond their time, the creative genius of them. And if you just listen to some of their interviews, especially Neil Peart, his philosophy on life, his philosophy on humanity, his philosophy of how he navigates his art. He navigates who he is as a piece of art. He navigates with great maturity, looking at the world and seeing, and he really harmonizes the reflections of the philosophies of the world and his unique experience, and then he embodies it in his art. And his art changes as a drummer and as a lyricist. And so we're so sad that he is no longer with us, because he truly was a creative genius, far beyond his time. And I'm so lucky that I've had the experience of being a diehard fan. Such a great genius, creative geniuses that they are, and how they mix their music. And I brought this up a while ago, and part of his gift of his drumming was to always add the juxtaposition and the uniqueness, or the offbeats, so that your brain was not quite wondering. And that's why their music had a lot of stops and starts, because your brain was wanting that constant rhythm, and they did purposefully to change that up. And Neil was a lot of their co-creation of their musics together. The guitarists would work together, and Neil would come and work together, and they would have a really unique flow of their co-creations together. And they would do that because the mind in a higher vibrational sequencing wants to hear in different patterns. That's why they were far ahead of their time. They were geniuses in the 70s and 80s and 90s. And their music is still valid today. And I heard a study, you know, most people nowadays, or 70% of people nowadays are listening to older music because it has more of that orchestrational uniqueness. It's not built from a computer that says this is the most popular theme of rhythm. We're creating that music genius from the offbeats, from the things that you don't expect. And that breaks that pattern of minutia and monotony, so that it is more unique. It is more, you know, unexpected, you know, and that's what also creates genius too. And, you know, like Neil said, you never know if anything's going to hit or miss, but that's not the point. The point isn't to know that I'm going to make a hit song. That's never really the intention. The intention is to, you know, create that expression of who they are in that moment and have it be the fullness of that expression, and to know that they're always pressing and being their best in those expressive experiences for the audience. And they took their craft very seriously. They never ever got on stage, you know, stoned or wasted, because they felt so devoted and committed to where they're offering toward their fans. And they had a great level of integrity, you know, in their work. They would practice it as much as possible for their own level of, yeah, this feels really right. Let's change the beat. Let's change this. And that's why their craft, and they became such great artists, because they took the different route. They took their own unique perspective and didn't really sign on to have those suppressed contracts to fit inside a genre or a box. They did it their own unique way. Again, they did not sell themselves out. As often as they could, they remained unique and creative with their own integrity, and they did it their way. And it took a little longer, if you will, but again, their music stands today as one of the top 4 bands of all time. So their genius was in their creative working with it. They were constantly working the minutia of each one of their creative excitements. You know, each of their instruments, they were passionate about it and used their instruments as their navigational tool to continually press their creative ingenuity, to press into their creative fullness. And so there's constant harmonization of their growth and their maturity of their art. And that's why the band, over the span of that lifetime, they worked at and knowing that it's a maturing experience, and their art just becomes more full and more great, and it's changing throughout, and there is no real failure. It's just life and expression. You know, so changing your perspective on the trueness and the authenticity of art and how rich it is, it can really shift your perspective of, you know, those lower vibrational self-judgments about what anybody thinks or wants, or any group or any, you know, boss or minutia group, if you will, about what their value is of greatness. Never judge yourself on wanting to be better for the judgment of others. You know, a person's judgment on how you're doing and what you're doing shouldn't have any value of who you are as an artist. It's your constant excitement to explore and to discover and to navigate and to excavate who you are as a genius. That should be the only thing that you're going within. Everybody else's comments, they're interesting and they're uplifting to hear, and you want that exchange with your creative audience, but it should never define you, ever. You're offering that as a creative, you know, a dessert. You know, they're sitting at the table with you, they're breaking bread with you, and it's that exchange. But don't let anybody's perspective of what anybody thinks is art. Nobody can do that, but your art is your art. It's like your name. It's like your fingerprint. And it's just beautiful to have all being expressive, having all be the juice and the creator soup of all that is. And really, it's about the fun of the entanglement. It's about the fun of the play. It's about the fun of trying new things. It's about that offbeat, that unexpected experience. That is spirit. That's how you know you're with spirit and you're aligned with spirit, because the most unexpected miracles, the minutiae, the majesties of the heavens, work within us in all moments. You'll be meeting something will come about, and when you're in those moments of flow, that's how you know you're connected with spirit, because it's always unexpected, it's always miraculous, and it makes that juice, it makes that cake extra special. It makes whatever that is that you're offering as a creative excitement for your pod, for your experience, for your collective, extra monumental and meaningful for you. That's soul fulfillment. When you know you've had a great day because you've fulfilled your soul as being a creative genius. Remember, you're a creative experience and you're a creative representation of the heavens. Period, bar none. There is no failure. There's just constant navigation with life and art. You are an artistic genius from the heavens. Who are you? And it will always, always, always lead you in fulfillment when you explore yourself as art. And all things is art. Everybody before you is an aspect of art, and you're constantly inspiring one another. The experience, the exploration, and the expression. That's how you know you've lived a rich life, because that's spirit. You're living as spirit, the soul of spirit, the minutia of spirit, the constant working of energy with spirit. It's never, ever, should never, ever be boring, ever. And if you're bored, then that's working from the lower two chakras, and you got to release some fear there to start working on those creative experiences and working on that I am presence, because that I am presence will help lift up all of the other chakras. When you did shut down your chakras because you were maybe ostracized for how you created or expressed yourself. And that's normal. Most of us have been ostracized. If you're a genius, you've been ostracized. Big deal. You know, you work through it and you heal those wounds. You heal those experiences where, no, I have a unique way of offering myself and creating that creative genius. And it's more, I get so excited just offering it. I never ever look to how people view me or how people respond to me. I don't care. I don't care. And anybody's comments about how I express myself, I don't care. Because I know I'm connected with God when I express and when I share. That just means everything to me. And I know that I'm serving God and I'm serving creation because I'm bringing forward energies and teachings and informations, and I'm connecting it so a collective can understand why they attract what they attract. What are they going through when they're going through something? How to offer the highest optimization when you are having those releases. Those are huge, powerful, creative releases, those dark nights of the soul. So really embrace it as a creative, like you're going to an art festival. When you're having those dark nights of the soul, give yourself a day to process and release, and then the next day have a day where you get to explore and create from that. Right? You can allow yourself creativity through all aspects of your ascension cycle, because it's all rich. And allow yourself that softening time to soak within the lessons of you moving through that minutia. Every part of life in Gaia is our offering of expressive music, of prose, of wisdoms, of intelligence. Gaia is hugely and highly intelligent. And know that when you're in those situations of, again, we're healing complex energies within our creative collective, right from the times of Jesus. Jesus was a sacrifice. Jesus was used as a sacrifice. Many of us that come forward as high vibrational teachers, we have to move through some levels of being that sacrificial lamb, if you will, and going through a myriad of humanity, minutiae of density and traumas, because we have to be able to step up and offer what we're here to offer to transcend it. We have to show people how to navigate beyond and around and above and ascend the traumas and the darkness and the density. So many of us are used as sacrificial lambs because we have to go through far more than other people normally have to go through, because we can. We're given extra guides, we're given extra healing teams as well, because we're going through far more than anybody could even understand. Especially me. They told me that, I was thinking about it, this morning. My teams were saying, Joanna, okay, just let's take a break and let's just reflect, because I'm so busy in my creative experience. And and they're saying, let's just take a reflection on, I caught little sand in my my shift gear. They're saying, just let's take a look. And I was thinking about 800, they said I was working from a harmonization of 882 life aspects. And so when you actually think about that as a soul, I'm harmonizing 882 lifetimes, and right now I'm working with that 882 perspective. The more in love with you are, and more you're offering yourself compassion and forgiveness, all of those 882 soul fragments and those soul aspects are working more in harmony with you, and you're offering those soul fragments, those love, unconditionally, to create unconditionally, to know that you're a genius unconditionally and there is no measuring stick, and to really honor that and to be valued in that and to give yourself that value. Again, it's only you and God that determine your value and your worthiness. Nothing outside of you can give that to you. No title, no money, no contract that you would ever have to sell. And so just know that you can always level up anything that you're moving through to create a higher vibrational resonance. And really give yourself that satisfaction that you can sit and observe, like, wow, that's a lot. 882 lives. Yeah, I feel rich. I'm working from all of those aspects where, yeah, I wasn't in my highest integrity. You got to be okay with that and not judge it and forgive yourself. And that next day you're saying, well, I know how to not live in my integrity. Now I know how to be more in my integrity. And I'm not just going to release them from my list. I'm going to maybe offer them compassion and maybe a kind word. Maybe I took it wrong. So you can always have those experiences and then tune in with higher self. You know, what is that? Is that offering genuine and authentic? Is it benevolent? And your teams will tell you, you know, there's games going on. You can let that go. You know, they're trying to play on your emotions. Let that go. You know, they're playing in your field. Let that go. You know, those that try and, you know, pierce their way into your dreams and your energy field and, you know, try to harvest your light and try to harvest from your chakras. I can feel when those things happen and the spell work that's being done. And so now there's lots of blocks and filters and veils, and those people are rerouted to other things. They're no longer allowed to enter my field. And that's why their health is suffering, because they were using a lot of my art and a lot of my energy and a lot of my light to manifest. They were using me, literally using me, enslaving me. And so I released those enslavement stories. They're very complex stories in the creative collective. And they actually happen in a subtle way in relationships. They happen in a subtle way with your work environment. So any way that any part of enslavement or sacrifice is coming up, face it head on. Every time a sacrifice comes up, small, subtle, or whatever type of minutia that is, head on. You are a creative genius and you can navigate in and around it so it makes something better. We're harmonizing the multiverse for higher vibrational energies, and they're very highly coded with light. So very beautiful and juicy. I mean, those codes of light are just profound. That's what light language is all about. It's just breaking up what is unexpected. Light language bypasses the ego, bypasses mental programming, bypasses the robot, you know, mental matrix robot. Everybody's got to act and behave in the same way. Everybody's got to conform. No, because it makes those that are abusing the systems easier to control. That's why they want you to conform, because it's easier for them to control. When you're vulnerable and you're broken inside and you have a low self-esteem, it's easier for those that know what to do and know how to manipulate and know how to do spell work and know how to do all those things. Those that are living in corrupt systems and know how to abuse the systems, they know how to control people and why they work on your emotional field. If they can manipulate your emotional field, they can control it. So again, and that's why narcissism is a never-ending pit of it's not my fault and it never goes anywhere. It's those with narcissism and corrupt narcissism or grandiose narcissism or covert narcissism, there's a lot of deep healing because it's a multidimensional wound that has to be healed. There's no other way to talk about it, because it goes around in circles and it just keeps you in a very deep vibrational mess, because your energy and your emotions goes to try and sort out an issue and it will never get sorted out. That's the whole purpose of why they do what they do. It's a psychological sociopathic mess. And they have to get to, each person has to get to the point where they want to heal. They have to choose that healing for narcissism to change. Otherwise, they will continue to attract narcissistic relationships, and they're karmic, because that's a giving and a taking of energy, a sacrificing of your free will. Sacrifice is about you choosing to give parts of your free will away. That's why free will is the #1 law. The right use of free will. Am I using my free will in a proper way so that I'm not harming anybody? Non-interference. The right use of free will is non-interference. Or are you using your free will to manipulate, steal, deceive, sleight of hand, judges in the judges system and the policing in the policing system? Are you using your energy benevolently or malevolently? And everybody does it. Everybody. And when you're in imbalanced relationships, you can see it and you know it. When you don't call it, then you're creating that sacrifice with you. You're sacrificing part of your multidimensionality. You're giving your energy away, you're giving your peace away, you're giving your balance away because you just want to make peace. Well, it makes peace in the relationship. There's no wrong about compromise. If it's even, it's a win-win. But when you're constantly making peace because you don't like confrontation, then you're losing your sense of self while that other person just keeps taking your energy, keeps taking your sense of peace, keeps taking your sense of living in a higher vibration. And they know when they're doing it. They're very good. They're shapeshifters. They know when they're doing it, at least the ones that I've come in contact with. They're experts at deceiving systems. They're experts at deceiving people. And those people that I have known that have been the best narcissists were brought up in very staunch dogma, because they know how to work the system. They know how to do what they need to do to get by. And they end up becoming very good liars and deceivers and manipulators, because that's what they were shown. They're taking a lot of dogma because of the rituals, because of the practices, because of the belongingness of dogma, which is, if you look at God, the hierarchies of the heavens, if you will, God is all life is sacred. God didn't say, here's a religion, here's a religion, here's a religion. All is God. And when we get to higher vibrational beingness, when you get to a higher vibrational knowingness of androgyny, all is all. There's no need to put anything in a box and define anything, because all is all. We belong to all. There's no need for judgments or separations or defining anything with boxes. And those religions that take the creative genius out of you, because there's so many staunched beliefs and ideologies about what you have to say to belong. You have to take this to belong. You have to do this to belong. You have initiations, you have ceremonies, and you become a literal robot to belong into this sanctified community that is all about judgments. If you don't do it the right way, you can't do this. If you don't do that the right way, you can't do that. You can't marry certain people if you don't do this. There's so much staunchness and rules. It's taking the creative genius and ingenuity out of everybody. And no wonder there's a lot of lying and deceit. They're doing whatever they can just to get by. I don't care anymore. And a lot of children lose their creative genius. And there's a lot there's a lot of subjugation. And again, if you look at some of the Catholic churches, why are there not women at the very top ends of the meat? Why is that? I can go on forever. I can take every part of our society and we can talk about it neutrally, with genius, with resolve, so that everybody can see blatantly what is so in front of our faces. And where does that creative ingenuity being taken out of us? Why are we projecting onto each other and blaming and projecting separation onto each other for one person's unique creative experience? Allow it. They're igniting you to be your unique creative experience. That's part of your pod. That's part of your soul pod. Hello. Hello, genius. Hello. Hit on my paper. That's part of your genius. They're activating you. They're activating you. You're activating them. You're activating you. It's a minutia of everybody going back and forth to say, how can we be better in this? I want a higher version of me. Let's do some creative co-creations. Let's discuss this creatively. Let's figure out a win-win so that even the lowest of vibrations can harmonize with some of the highest and everybody's receiving something from another. It's fair. Not one person is being suppressed by deceit, manipulation, corruption. And the one that's actually doing the art is actually getting nothing. Not only are they being taken from vibrationally, not only are they being taken from creatively, not only are they being taken from and deceived and lied from everybody around them, but they have nothing. And they're the ones that are the creative genius of the whole entire group. You take that creative genius, which is what I did. I took myself right out of the group. And now where's the group? Sitting in far more corruption, far more illness, far more imploding upon itself. Because there's no balance in any of it. That's what happens. You take the light out of any environment and it will go in down. It will implode. That's what sacrifice is. They sacrifice their greed, their selfishness, and not caring about sharing anything. And then they just started to get taking from each other. More lies within each other, more trying to scam each other. Because the person that was really doing all the work took themselves out of it. And that's when they really saw each other for who they were. They're not doing the work. That was the whole point. When you're in a situation and it's not changing and there's been ample time, there's been ample offerings, there's been ample discussions, Spirit will say, okay, that's enough. You're being used and views clearly. Spirit's given them years to get on their own path of evolution, get on their own path of evolutionary healing, get on their own path of facing their own self. Spirit will take you out and put you around those where you get fed and nourished. And you're going to be fed from a higher self and a pod perspective so that you actually get some receiving, because that's imbalanced on such a degrading. And that is exactly what's going on in the trafficking. And when you put some light on that trafficking situation, make no doubt about it, there's going to be so much light put on the whole trafficking globally that it will be brought up city by city. We're going to see just how all of this is working, and people are going to choose one by one by one by one, because it feels so much better to be a creative genius than to be stuck in pots and pits of darkness and illness and disease and corruption and crime and violence. Everybody gets to choose. There's no judgment on any of it, but everybody gets to choose. You want to be stuck in crime, degradation, illness and disease, mental illness, and black magic. What does black magic do on mental illness? Oh my gosh. And why people are even not looking at themselves as spiritualists, the ones that do spells, when they're not even asking anything about the mental health and the wellness and the balance of anybody they're doing spells on. Why is that a thing? Remember, universal laws transcend religion, transcend race, transcend creed, transcend anybody that's on any level of a spiritual offering. They just do. Doesn't matter what kind of spell you think you're doing. Again, ask yourself, am I offering this in the highest and benevolence of the greater good? am I non-interfering? Because anybody that's doing confusion spells, poverty spells, death spells, all of those things which are occult crimes, nobody has the right to do that and mess with anybody's life. Not only is it not dangerous, but anybody doing a spell to cause creation and blockages and all of those things on somebody that is mentally not well, that is going through a dark night of the soul, that has been depressed, that has been unwell, that is early Alzheimer's. Who are they? That's a very, very, very dangerous game. And nobody has that right. Any spell worker that is doing such things, bring it up. That's part of you changing our creative collective. If a spellcaster is doing such spells and you're paying for that, or anybody paying for that, ask questions. Why would you even do that? Is there a wound so deep that you can actually heal yourself? What in anybody would want anybody to do those things? There's a lot of healing that needs to be done. And anybody, it's a spellcaster or a spiritualist that are doing those things, absolutely know that it is immediate karma. Because you have no right, the danger you're putting anybody in, and the families and the peoples around them, because energy is energy and it's got to go somewhere. Spellcasters that do those activities, they affect everybody, and the innocent people that had nothing to do with their hatred, their jealousy, their envy, and their lack of self and insecurities. Nobody has that right. And the number of people that have committed suicide in this whole sick industry of sacrifice, as Jesus was a sacrifice. And we've said it many times, and we're going to keep talking about it so that everybody is educated. Everything is energy. The wounding within yourself is how you find yourself falling into patterns and habits. If you're nourishing yourself with spirit and breath, and you're activating spirit within you, God within you, you're belonging with God, your oneness with God, Earth is healing the separative agreement. Separation is all about sacrificing and all of those things that we think we're not a part of. The sacrifice is a part of the opposite of oneness, because you don't feel you're one with yourself. You don't feel you're one with your highest sense of self. You don't feel your highest and your best in your creative abilities, in your creative manifestations, in your creative offerings. That's lack, that's separation. So heal the wounds so that we don't have those that are doing spell work that just bounce off everybody's fields and everybody's auras and everybody's families, and car accidents are happening, or mental illnesses are happening, and mental death and suicides are happening. Who gives anybody that right? So question it, dear lighted ones. If you're the only one standing, so stand and say it. These are collective offerings that must be looked at. Observe any level of sacrifice and infuse something new. Any level of sacrifice is about separation. It's about the lack. Lower two chakras, safety, belonging, oneness. So resolve it and heal it. And it happens in everyday experiences. And stand up for yourself. You're a profound creator. You're a genius. So go there and create. You're going to have your incubation period. We're just going to want to sit with all the energies of you and your soul. You're going to sit and you're going to ponder the clouds and the skies. You're going to want to be with Gaia to get your galactic and your celestial energies. But don't ever be afraid to bring your stories forward and say, no, I'm going to start talking about this, because the more of us that start talking about this, we're going to start to gather momentum and gather energy and gather change in our grids. And our grids are now operating with divine feminine held within them. Divine feminine is now being rebalanced on this planet, and we're now creating divine feminine as a part of the creational story. We are inspiring great change. We're inspiring great inspirations, great stories, and great art. Divine feminine create art. We create babies. We birth babies. We birth life. We birth intuitiveness. Balance your own divine feminine and masculine energies every day. Think about it. What energy am I working in? What energy do I want to work in? You are infinite. It is so fun, so rich. That, my friends, is worth getting up every day. No boredom. And you're healthy. When you're excited about yourself, you create that healthiness within you. That's youthfulness. And you're owning that energy. You're claiming who you are, and you give yourself that ranking. You give yourself that title. You're feeding yourself with spirit. And that, my friends, is worth everything. Thank you, dear lighted ones. We thank you so much for joining us today. Anybody that wants a session with me, my links are below. Thank you so very much for being a part of these beautiful co-creative experiences and sessions. If you want some really great meditations, ASMRs, Steve Noble, if you look him up on YouTube, he has wonderful, great meditations. He's a very great light worker that's walking on the planet, helping people in the meditative experience. Great listening stuff. And also Lee Asher from the Asher House. Look his stuff up on YouTube. He's a very beautiful, balanced, divine masculine, owning his emotional energies, understanding energies. He teaches people a lot about animal energy, how to stand boldly as a divine masculine in his energy and helping be a great light worker on this planet. And he's very balanced in his beautiful offering. Daniel Scranton is another beautiful, balanced divine masculine in his energies. And so I offer these forwards, Daryl Anka, Lee Carroll, beautiful, balanced beings. Look them up and have these people as role models. This whole series and this whole session is about you as a creative genius. You are a role model. You have everybody that you're creating minutia with. Have it be your best. I inspire you to be your best. I inspire you to be a new birthing of who you are. You are a soul of many, many lifetimes. So have fun. There is no failure. There's only life. We love you, dear lighted ones, and know that God is within and God is all things. You are purposeful and you belong, and you are creative and you are dynamic. Fall in love with who you are, above all. Never surrender to a lesser story. You are dynamic and we are all one. Thank you, dear lighted ones. Namaste, rainbows. Bye.